Or the people in the video, in this video right here, and the people in this video right here, this man in this video, and I'm not trying to just for reference, I'm not trying to disrespect anybody, but the man in this video right here claims he is Black American on both sides of his family. The man in this video right here says he's Ethiopian. Nothing wrong with either. He's telling us that because of Black American, which I am a Black American, both my parents are, he's trying to make this video and he's trying to claim that we should all go back to Africa because of all of the racism in this country, all of the oppression, all of the subjugation, all of the anti-Blackness that exists here. We should, as a group, or at least majority of us should, as a group, go to Africa. Okay? That's what he's saying in this video. And I thought it was interesting. He does this whole long thing about which country we should go to. Liberia, he's saying. And then he made another video recently as well, talking about we should all go to Africa and everything like that. He's from Ethiopia, but we should go to Africa because of all of the oppression and the racism and all of that stuff here in America. So we should go to Africa. My question is, why is there such a big push? Because I've seen a couple of videos. These ones really stood out to me. But I've seen a couple of videos lately, and there has been this big push for us to go to Africa. For a whole bunch of Black Americans, millions of Black Americans, to go to some country in Africa. And I'm wondering, and I want to have a conversation as to why that is. I'm wondering why. I think I know why, and I want to have a conversation, and I want to hear your points, okay? There are a lot. Someone in the chat room saying there are a lot of people going, okay? And I don't think that there's anything, if you want to go, I'm not trying to stop anybody from going who wants to go. I'm going to tell you right here, this is the country. Hey, this is how I see it. And y'all can feel how you want to feel, and we can have a conversation about it respectfully. This is the country my people built. My ancestors built this country with blood, sweat, and tears. Okay? Voluntary, non-voluntary, regardless of how it got built, it was built. And it was built by my ancestors. Okay? My ancestors have a right to this country, a very unique right to this country that nobody else has. Nobody else has to this country at all. Okay? If I wanted to leave, I can. How I'm viewing the situation is there's a job. I view this right here. We're having a conversation, but I view a duty here. I feel like I have a duty and a responsibility here, not just to my ancestors, but to also the descendants, my descendants. I have a responsibility. I have a job here. The job is not done. The job that Harriet Tubman was doing, the job that Nat Turner was doing, the job that Dr. King, Malcolm X, all of the Black Panthers, everybody, all of their work, it's not done. The job is not done here. All right. That's why I'm here. I'm here not just for reparations, but for all of it, because the job isn't done. Now, if I wanted to go anywhere in the world after the job is done, then fine. In my personal opinion, I don't think I'll live long enough to see everything be done. But okay, fine. Because there's just so much work to do. But the job isn't done. I'm not leaving. Okay? I'm not going to abandon that because there's oppression here. That's my job to solve. I also want to say the Africa, let's be very clear. And I'm saying this with the utmost respect to the people living in Africa, to the people who are African. Africa is not this Wakanda people are trying to make it seem. Or I want us to be adults about that and be honest about that. When people talk about we got to move to Africa, everybody got to come on and we got to repatriate to Africa and this great migration to Africa. The people in that video is making it seem like Africa is this Wakanda. And that's not the case. It's not the case. These people who are making these videos about moving, quote unquote, to Africa or back to Africa are in the United States. And we've seen this throughout the years. People in the United States telling us that we need to go to Africa. And I'm not saying that everywhere in Africa is bad. I'm not saying that. But the whole acting like, man, if you leave Africa or you go to Africa, everything's going to be everything is everything in Africa. There's no better place in the world. Everything is fine. No, Africa got a lot of issues. And I'm saying that with the utmost respect. They do. And they're in a lot of countries in Africa, especially recently South Africa. They're, getting their issues solved and all that stuff. Wish them the best. I commend that. That's honorable for them to do. Fight their oppression and stuff like that. But that's their homeland. You're telling us to leave our homeland that our ancestors spent their lives building. There was no United States of America prior to my people building it. That's the truth. Either it's the truth or it's not the truth. And I have a job here, and we have a pride here. And we're going to go someplace else. That's somebody else's homeland. Even if you want to say every single black person has roots in Africa and everybody who is in America today came from Africa before, the thing is that the countries that we left, 400, 500 years ago, those countries have been remade and rebranded and all of that stuff. That's not the same place. Everybody has essentially had ethnogenesis, really us, but soft way them. They kind of had like a diet ethnogenesis. So the countries that we left, they don't even exist then. 500 years ago, the country that's called Ethiopia wasn't called that. All these countries weren't called that. They're different countries now. Okay, so everybody has their lineage. I'm seeing a lot of comments in the chat room. Let me start letting people come up. And I want to have the conversation, and I want to ask you guys your opinion on it. And then why do you think there's this big push for us to migrate to Africa? So, Phil, I'm gonna let you go, brother.
Well, I just appreciate you opening up a platform uh, for Black Americans to speak, because a lot of times when I scroll up and down, I keep seeing this Africa unite, Africa this and that, and I'm only solely speaking for me, and I think that with all the bloodshed and everything we done went through and everything we done fought for and the strides that we made, why would we get it up now to go somewhere else? Only thing we missing is coming together as a people here, our black people here, foundation Americans, black Americans. We've been here 400 years. We need to come together and keep building and keep taking over. That's my opinion.
As you guys are coming up, you guys got to mute your microphone so there's no background noise. Yeah, that is. And first, Philip, thank you. And I agree. We got to lock in here. We have to lock in here. We have an ethnicity. We have a home here that we built. It's tough here. It is. It's not the way it's supposed to be here, but it's not the way it's supposed to be really in anywhere else in the world. Let's be honest. Okay, let's tell the truth about that. I don't want to be too long. I want to get to the next speaker. Santa, cause okay, you said it seems like you're a troll, but what's on your mind, Santa? Okay, I'm gonna disconnect you because I think you're probably a troll.
Nigger.
Okay, yeah, I figured. The disconnect button just didn't go fast enough. Let me get to Mount.
Good afternoon. It's actually Mound Big Hunter, but that's okay.
Oh.
What I wanted to say is that this is our land. We have lineages. I have no history in my family, and we've done genealogy of being from Africa or having anything to do with Africa. I have nothing against. I used to be Pan-African. I don't have anything against African, but we just don't have that in our lineage, and I'm black. Okay, so um, I'm not sure why these people are making a push for us to get up and leave our homeland. I think it'd be probably more productive if they get the Africans that come over here to go back. Because pretty much every African that I talk to is an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, a mathematician, or a millionaire. So Africans need to build Africa. And that's why I come up with, MAGA. Make Africa great again. Get the Africans to go back. Leave us the hell alone. That's all I want to say.
That's a good point. It is interesting. And when we say it's an agenda, people try to gaslight us, right? People try to gaslight us. Now, people in the chat room, you're going, if that's fine, you can go. And I'm not trying to stop anybody from going. Let me be very clear. But I am trying to say the only people who ever get told, now I just think this is interesting. I want y'all to hear me out. The only people who ever get told we need to leave this country, despite the fact that we built this country, are Black Americans, or really foundational Black Americans. We're the only people, no matter how bad Jamaica gets, you never tell Jamaican people, why don't you guys all just leave Jamaica? If Jamaica is just not good right now, why don't all Jamaican people just leave? Because you would understand that Jamaican people have a pride in their homeland that they're not
It's
just
not their
gonna
homeland though.
up and leave. You got to mute your mic, and I'm gonna let you speak, but you got to mute your mic so there's no echo or double talk, right? You wouldn't tell a whole bunch of people, and this is the only time you ever hear, you wouldn't tell a whole bunch of people in South Africa, oh, y'all going through apartheid, why don't y'all just leave South Africa and just abandon the whole country altogether and go someplace else? You would never hear that. No matter how bad a country gets, no matter what they go through, you would never tell them, why don't you guys completely abandon your country and go someplace completely different? Now, some people who do leave their country, those are not the majority. The majority of people, the majority of whatever country never leave the country. Okay, it's always the minority. But you never hear anybody making the case that, oh, if you guys are fighting something, if there's oppression, abandon the entire country. Only us. We're the only group of people who get told, why are we still in America? America's tough. Why are we still here? So it is this agenda that they want us to really abandon what really belongs to us.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think Black Americans aren't the only people that hear that. And I think your point saying that, like, Jamaicans are indigenous to Jamaica. Mm-hmm. Black Americans aren't indigenous to America. So, like, telling...
That's not true, but okay.
What do you mean?
You're saying Black Americans aren't indigenous to America. Black Americans built America. There was no America before Black Americans.
But they're not indigenous to this land, is what I'm saying.
No, they are. Yeah, we are.
So that means that the slave trade didn't happen.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
So in what way were...
Because technically, with that argument, the slave trade did happen to Jamaica, right?
Give me 1 second. Hold on, I got some customers.
Hey, yo. What the hell?
He was in there. What's going on, brother? What's going on?
You
What's
and
good,
your bag,
man?
you and your bag, bro.
I'm just wondering. I mean,
I'm trying now. I don't want to skip him. I was trying to let him get there. But come on now.
I think he had an Uber.
Okay. Well, whatever the brother's going through right now, we're gonna let him get back to it. But there's more people who want to talk, so we're gonna have to move it on. We can't let him slow it down.
I was just wondering what he thought the Native Americans were, you know what I mean, or what their genealogy was based from and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
hold on. Let me hold on before let me get to Outcast real quick, and then we'll kind of go in order.
Yes. Basically, see, when you spoke on countries, the term countries is a recent term made in the 19th century. So before that, everyone came from a certain continent, right? Okay. So even though Black people did build America, if they do ask you to leave, you should say, "Where's the receipt? Like, where's the bill with it? You built the place. I gotta take my money." You get it? So even if you did go back, you would have to take take the whole country with you. So there is no really black people leaving America. That's out of the question. That's crazy.
Can I answer that?
There ain't no Chinese people either.
Can I say something?
Go
That's
ahead.
true, though.
Thank
Africa is
you,
the future,
thank
but
you.
you lot can still do trade with Africa and still own America. You see
Okay.
the point? You know?
Go ahead. User.
Thank you, and thank you for allowing me to speak and be on this panel. Black Americans, this is their land, this is their country, and everybody knows that. We don't come from Africa. Actually, it's all backwards and twisted, and none of y'all probably ever drove back and forth up and down America. America is one of the oldest countries in the world, and I don't even know why y'all always try to identify us and claim us with Africa. We got nothing to do with Africa.
No,
In
you
fact,
do. You do.
Hold
Wait a
on,
minute.
hold on. Let him go. Let him go.
let me talk. Even if you want to say that we did, a little bit of us came from Africa, like 2000. It was Jamaicans, Cubans, Brazilians, and Puerto Rico, and all them other countries that got dropped off way more than America. And we built this country. This is our land. This is our territory. And we get more blowback and pushback from people that don't even know what they're talking about. People that never even traveled the Americas. You got people in America right now, buildings. Everybody from America, it's older. You could predate even America people's great grandparents that's been here from the 1400s. I don't know why Africans and Jamaicans always get on these panels. Oh, this is not, you didn't, this is our land. And when we was fighting the fight, and when we was making America the greatest country in the world, none of y'all was nowhere to be found. All of a sudden, it's a thing called TikTok, and y'all on social media, and y'all got the biggest mouths. But when Malcolm X was fighting, and Martin Luther King and the Black Panthers, there was no Africans. Just
Yes,
that
there was.
simple.
Yes, there was.
So no,
You
y'all
speak
was
for
not.
Malcolm.
Let him
No,
go.
it wasn't.
But I ain't
Y'all
gonna
was
leave you, brother.
nowhere
I ain't gonna
around.
leave you
Y'all
to
are the weakest people in the world. And you talking to a man that knows I'm New York City, Bronx. No Africans was around. No Jamaicans was around. Y'all always trying to claim shit, even in hip hop. None of y'all was around. Even you never even knew Kool Herc was Jamaican. So all of y'all need to shut up. All of y'all got big mouths on TikTok. But when we was making America the greatest country in the world and built it, y'all want to come, oh, this is not your land. America is probably older than Africa. I've been to Africa. Why your country's not built up? So
Okay,
please,
brother,
with all that,
there's a panel full of
and
people,
listening,
and there's people requesting, so I'll have to give
I'll
you.
shut up and I apologize and thank you, brother. God bless you. I'll shut up.
I know I know it's a lot of brothers requesting. Our brother, can I say one thing and I can drop so I can listen?
All right, go ahead, brother.
Now, this is what I want to say. I want people to open up their minds. So, if the first person ever recorded, the oldest person in the history of the world was in Africa, right? So that means everything comes from Africa. That means we are indigenous to every part of the world. And if you think the first person that had a ship was Columbus and them, you're crazy, because the smartest civilization ever was in Africa. So we explored these lands and we got dropped off years before they started writing their books talking about, hey, we just come over here and this. No, we've been here. And we don't want to be a part of Africa. We want y'all to be successful, but we don't want to be a part. We cool where we at. We done built where we at. And we're gonna fight our fight that we've been fighting, and that's it. And that's all I wanted to say, brother, man.
Okay. Thank you, brother. Thank you.
So, host,
If
can I
you
just
got the
speak quick?
most
Can
Let
I
me
just
hold
speak
on.
beautiful
quick?
Everybody
panel
can't
in the
jump in.
world,
Everybody can't jump in now.
I know. I just wanted to say thank you
Boss.
to you. Thank you. That's all. I wanted to show you love.
Okay.
Thank you.
Boss,
I
I just wanted
appreciate you.
to
Thank you.
obviously,
Now
yeah, man.
let me continue the conversation. And I do want to I want to be fair to everybody's time, so I definitely want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to speak. So it's not like a 1-2 conversation. It's a panel full of people. We want to be fair to everybody's time. Let me allow I'm not sure
Gunner.
Duner.
Yeah, I appreciate you, brother. So you were saying that we're indigenous to America. In what way, though?
Okay. In the way that recently, and I mean within the last 10 years or so, archaeologists have dug up skeletons of people who were here thousands of years prior to Columbus. First off, a lot of people don't understand about Columbus is that Columbus actually didn't discover the states. Columbus, when they said he discovered America, they're not referring to North America. Okay, they're referring to South America. Okay, but before he discovered the Americas, okay, there, and I mean, I have a YouTube channel and I've actually shown the documentation on this. They've dug up bones and skeletons, and they've discovered that the skeletons, they did 3D scans and DNA scans and all of this, and they've discovered and they've concluded that these are of Negro DNA or Negro skeletons. So these skeletons, these people would be, if we could look at them in a time machine or something, these people would be considered black. These people would be considered Negroes. These people were here centuries prior to Columbus, centuries prior to the transatlantic slave trade or whatever. So the narrative that black people or Negro, whatever you want to call it, were not here prior to the slave trade is not true. It's scientifically and historically not true. All right. There were black people who were here prior to the slave trade. Either that's true or it's not true. All right. Now, the woman, if you guys want to look her up, her name is, I don't know how to spell it, but it's Luzia woman. Okay. And I think they found her body, her bones in California, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, what's up, my
All right.
Yeah, woman.
So
I was just talking about this the other day. I wasn't really listening. I was in a conversation with somebody, but I was like not really listening. It was like a group conversation. Give me 1 second. I'm going to look that up while you finish your point.
okay, so that's the point is that black people were here. That's number one. Okay, all of the Christopher Columbus stuff and a lot of that stuff is it's a lie, and then the stuff that is true is very very embellished and mixed truth. Okay, it's a lot of false and missing information in that whole story and the whole story of Columbus. Okay, then black people who were here. Now we have to think about America. The United States of America started in 1776. Even according to the story that we all know of 1619, when the first slaves came here in Virginia and started building the country, even if we go with that story alone, we were here at least a good century before the country ever started, before the country ever was. Okay. So you can't say that we came to America because there was no America. There was not even the 13 colonies and all of that stuff established prior to us coming here.
But host,
So
please,
when you look at the definitions of the word and you look at the definitions of words indigenous, indigenous means before, indigenous means prior. Okay. Were we here prior to America? And the answer is yes.
host, yeah.
And
I
I
was gonna say,
also want to add
I
real
was gonna
quick,
say
and I
this,
want to
please.
respect everybody's time and thank you. I also want to add, we are the only people, Black Americans, people say Sulan, I prefer FBA, I think that's the best term, but we're the only people who get told we don't really belong in the country we built. You understand that? Nobody else gets told that. No matter what their struggles are, no matter what their history is, nobody else gets told that I know you built the country, but you don't really belong here. You belong someplace else. But I'm gonna let you. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, no, I'm
Dar
having a hard
MMA.
time finding it. How do you spell it? My bad, brother.
I don't know how to spell it. Start with a Luzia. If I'm not mistaken,
Z-I-A.
somebody in chat room has said it. But
Luzia.
as you're looking that up, let me get to
Yeah,
some
go
of the
ahead,
other.
brother. My bad, brother.
Yeah, let me get to Linz, uh, Lenzino. Lenzino.
Yes, boss. I just want to say thank you as well for allowing me on here as well. I did want to just say that I've done a lot of research into this topic. So, if I was just to speak from a historical point of view, there was a lot of things that were covered up. For example, like the Spanish Inquisition. I'm not sure if you know about that, where the first actual slaves that got to places like Jamaica were Spanish, but black people from Spain, right? And this happened because they already had the right. So when they conquered Spain and they took it from the Moors had already been to the Americas and they had known that. So there is a lot of evidence to show that, yes, like Africans, quote unquote Africans, if you want to call them Africans, they're not Africans, indigenous, had already been to the Americas and were well aware of it for at least 200 years prior to Columbus. So that is a fact. That is a fact.
See, and thank you. When you understand more about world history and what really happened, when you start looking at what really makes sense, you start to kind of unlearn a lot of the mistruths that have been told during our years in school and all that. Let me get you.
Wait, can I say one thing before you go?
Go ahead.
So where did you? This was found in Brazil, which is South America.
What is found in Brazil?
The bones.
What bones are you talking? Because there's been bones found in South America, but there's also been bones found here. I mean, there's been bones found in North America as well too.
So yeah, that's what I'm. So I only saw what you. I just read everything from what you just told me, and that was found in Brazil.
The guy was found in Brazil.
No, no, no. The lady with the bones that had the bones that you were just speaking about were found in Brazil. The Luzia
Well,
woman.
okay. So let me ask you a question. Let me say this though. Luzia, let's say she was found in South Africa. The point I'm making is that there were black people here. That the whole point I was making is that there were black people here in the Americas prior to Columbus, prior to the European expansion, prior to the transatlantic slave trade, prior to that. There were also black people in North America. There were black people in South America. There were
Which
black
came
people
from Africa,
all
though.
there were black people all over
He
the
did, yeah.
place. When you look at older pictures, if you all Google, everybody has Google. When you look at older pictures, right? Somebody says I'm moving the goalpost. I'm not moving the goalpost.
Yeah.
If I was, and I said I'm not sure exactly. I believe it was in Carolina. I will look it up to find out exactly. Sorry, to
No,
find
but
out
what I'm
exactly where
saying,
it
brother.
is. But the point is
Uh-huh.
that either black people were here or black people were not here. Now, let me ask you this question: are you trying to make the argument that black people were not in North America prior to slavery?
I'm saying black people were not indigenous in the land. I'm not saying that they couldn't have
Okay, let
been
me ask you.
there.
Okay, all right, that's fair. What do you define as indigenous then?
Native.
Let's yeah, like natives.
Okay,
Like,
everybody, I'm gonna have to. If you keep interrupting, because you've done this like 5 times. If you keep doing that, brother, I'm gonna have to remove you. So I'm gonna let you go.
like I said, a native. Let me pull up a definition for indigenous, just so
Okay,
we can be exact.
all right. Let me
Well,
get you Yali saying.
Oh yes, Wiley. Appreciate you, sir.
Wiley. Okay, got you.
So I was just gonna say, like, why is there a push for Black Americans to move to Africa? I would say it's a money grab. Black Americans have like some of the highest economy as far as a group of people. We're like our own nation. Africa's going broke. Let's talk about it. Africa's losing some of their countries. Let's talk about it. Africa is desperate for resources outside of natural. They need money. They need us. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to acknowledge it. You know what I'm saying? But that's why there's such a push for it. You know, there was a point in time where they was trying to keep us out of Africa. Now they want us to come back. It's because the money speaks for itself. With Africa needing as much as it does, they need us to come out there and make it relevant, prevalent, more on the map, so to speak. Like, if we were to not go, Africa's gonna find itself in a bind. Like, most of the people that's going over to Africa is trying to take from Africa. If we were to go to Africa, we would give to Africa. That's why Africans want us as Black Americans to come to Africa. Like, we could build it up. We built up America. You know what I'm saying? They could deny it all they want. Proof is in the pudding. All you gotta do is read a book. But as far as like all the money that we could bring to that country, that continent, should I say? Most of the stuff that we could do, like we could build up, what's his name? Burner Boy. We could build up, what's his name? The dude that's in Burkina Faso. Like, everybody want us over there. There's nothing that we can't do. We've already done it. We built up the UK. Look at the Black people that ran off to all over the world. We travel more than anybody.
It's a stretch, bro. That's a bit of a reach.
It's not
bro.
a stretch. This is a fact. We spend more than $2 trillion per year. This is every year. Look it up. Every year we spend
Spending
about
money
$2
doesn't
trillion.
like.
Bro, can I say something?
Go ahead, bro.
Okay, hold on. Let's let him go ahead, and I'm gonna let you go right after him.
All right.
Yeah, okay. Because I'm like, yo.
Actually, hold on. No, Mr. Lawrence was here before, so we'll let
All
Mr.
right,
Hey,
no problem.
check it out. I mean, I think everybody, first of all, peace to everybody. Thank you for letting me chime in with all of y'all. Real talk. User was here earlier. I know he was repping the Bronx. I'm from New York myself, man. I'm from Queens. So God bless everybody who's in attendance. But I want to say this: when we talk about the building of America, I want everybody to remember that many cultures built America. But first and foremost, when we talk about indigenous people, what do we consider indigenous people? Are we not talking about Native Americans? Because if you look at the structure and everything else, or genealogy of the Native Americans, they're certainly not going to be traced to Caucasian races of any stature. We also all know that through the centuries, and I'm going to say centuries, that there have been mixing of races. You know what I'm saying? So at the end date, or the end game, or whatever you want to call it, the ones who were here first, or wherever, because we were everywhere. We were everywhere, and that's a fact. Just like my homie said, you know, the bones discovered here. We were everywhere, and through years and of oppression and everything else, rape, whatever you want to call it, or just even love, the race has been diminished a little bit or tainted. So when we say America, building America, and you say that we weren't, the blacks weren't here, or yeah, we not from Africa ourselves, but our people before us in history were, and there's no denying that. There's I mean, like you said, that's history right there. When you dig
That's not
deep enough.
true.
Okay. Okay.
Come on now.
You
Let the
well,
brothers
user.
speak.
I mean,
Let the
you.
brothers
I.
speak, man.
If you're willing to believe that, you know, we weren't here or we didn't build anything, and I'm not just saying we as a people. I'm like I said, there were many races, or cultures rather, who contributed to the building of America, including the Bronx. But what's on the table right now is the fact that people going to Africa or going back to Africa, it's a choice. And I don't think that they need us there, because if you think about it in history, who was running Africa for the majority of these times when they was taking all of the, you know, the minerals and things that oils and whatever, Egypt, whatever you want to, because there's so many different places in Africa. So who was in control and take it? These were people of Caucasian descent. Somebody also spoke about, I mean, you had New Zealanders, the other gentleman, I forgot who it was. He spoke about, I forgot the location where the slaves, where the slave trade had began or something to that
Virginia?
effect. No, not Virginia. I'm talking. I'm not talking about this continent right here, because like you basically, when you're looking at history, man, I think we all agree that people came from all over the place. But when it comes down to it, and you're saying America itself, just like Elite said, this wasn't even America at one point. It wasn't America until it was declared America. But that given time, we was already here. We was already here. And what happened? And because I'm people of African and Native American descent, which is like I believe to be damn near the same shit.
Wait, brother, you just said something. I'm trying to cut you off. You said something real interesting that, like, kind of like it all bring this all together too.
You did cut him off though. You cut him off.
No, go ahead, Elite. Let him ride.
So no, what you were saying earlier, because it really do make sense that like it's all on definition as far as like how you're looking at it. Because you said how you look at indigenous. There's two definitions that I'm looking at, saying that originating or occurring naturally in a place.
Okay, but do the argument, or not gonna say argument, through the topic, we are speaking on America.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a race or a culture of people that was here. And I'm just chiming right back to what Elite said as far as we were here before this place was America. So it is ours, honestly. But it's and I'm not just saying ours, but it's a couple of different nationalities or cultures. You had the Jamaicans, you had a lot of different cultures, but all of these cultures are traced back to African Americans. It's just like when you say, hold up. It's just like when you say black and white can make something, a different color. Black can make every color, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And this is a scientific fact. But when you talk about any Caucasoid or Caucasian race, there's only one. There's only one that would produce.
Yeah. So I think you're gonna like the second definition better. The second definition is of people inhabiting or existing in a land of the earliest times or from the earliest arrival of colonists.
And is that not what Elite and I think a certain other
saying.
gentleman was saying?
Exactly
and the
what you were
thing
saying.
is that, hold on, and I'm gonna let you say this because I definitely want to get to more people. I'm gonna let you.
I'm good though. I'm good. I'm good.
When it comes to us and the understanding and conversation that black people have been around the world before Europeans were. Okay, the narrative that black people were just kind of stuck in Africa, living in huts, whatever the case is, before the civilized Europeans with their gray big ships came and took and brought us to America is not true. It's either true, it's not true, and it's not true. We've been everywhere, and my only thing is, and I want us to all think about this:
Japan.
Why is it when we say black people were all over the world, everybody is cool with that fact, except when we say black people were in North America? The second we say black people were in North America prior to Europeans, then people act like, oh my God, that can't be true. We can say we were in South America. We can say we were in Asia. We can say we were in Europe, which we were, which is why the Moors actually taught a lot of the Europeans how to survive and all of that stuff. We can say we were everywhere else in the world, but the second we say we were in North America, it becomes this: you guys just hate Africa. You guys just don't love yourself. You guys are like, why does that happen? Why in particular can we exist everywhere else except North America? Nobody argues that we were only stuck in Africa, But the second we say, oh yeah, there were black people in North America too, it's like, oh, here we go with this again. Why is that?
We was everywhere,
Because
man. You
America
got
is the
Japanese
greatest
samurai.
country. Wait, America is the greatest country in the planet.
What
And
that
the
got to do with
best
anything?
builder.
Okay, yeah,
Can
thank you,
I
brother. Thank you.
finish?
We gotta let other brother. Thank
Can
you,
I finish? The
brother.
only people that built America are black Americans.
That's
Even the
that's
president
true.
said that.
That's
Can
true.
I say this?
Yeah,
Donald
you
Trump
brother,
even said
brother.
nobody
We're gonna
built
move on.
America but black
We're gonna
Americans.
move on.
Because we are the greatest people in the world. We are
And
God's
I agree. We
chosen.
definitely are. Thank you. Let's get to
Yo,
Diz
Yeah,
Diz
Drake.
T Dark
Drake.
Elf. Go ahead.
Yeah,
You got it,
Drake.
brother. And then we'll get to
So
nobody.
I appreciate y'all. Let me come on here. I'm Jamaican. If you haven't heard it in my accent, I just have a few things I have to straighten up. My guy said Jamaicans didn't do anything in America. That's not true because we influenced the culture over here. Stop, boy. We influenced the culture over here, and before Martin Luther, before Malcolm X, there was Marcus Garvey. That
Okay,
came
hold
to
on, hold
America.
on. Let me ask you a question. You're saying that you influenced the American culture here?
We do.
Jamaicans?
Yes.
Jamaicans influenced the Americans' culture here.
A lot, include hip hop. That's one.
Host, why
We
are you
influenced
pretending to care
that.
about Black Americans?
What happened?
Ma'am, can you wait your turn like a civilized adult, please? Go ahead.
Yeah, we influence hip hop. Our influence is all over the world. There's not nowhere that you can go and don't know about Jamaica.
No, we're talking about the United States, though.
Okay, yeah, we're not talking about
How did
Jamaica.
y'all influence the United States, Dristy?
Hip hop, boxing, everything. We
Okay,
have
be
a hand. We
specific.
have a
Be
hand.
specific. But be specific. Don't
I'm
be all
being.
like everything.
I'm being
If you're gonna make a
specific.
claim, you
I'm being
better
specific.
substantiate that with something. So you
I'm being
said that Marcus
specific.
Garvey. What did Marcus Garvey do?
He came here, tried to have Black Americans go back to Africa. And when you're talking about, yes, Black Americans did have America did have black people because you're right, we travel all over the world, right? But natively or genealogically, we are from Africa.
Genealogy. Okay.
Yeah, genealogy. We all come from Africa.
All right. Now,
Oh my
let me
God!
say
Oh
this
my
because
Afro!
we got a lot of
Jesus
people to
Christ!
speak, and I definitely want people to speak. Let me say this. Let me ask you this. Why was Marcus Garvey not more successful? Because he should have been more successful with his movement to repatriate to Africa in Jamaica. Why did he have to come to America?
Because he knew what was going on over here. America was,
No, that's
yes,
not why.
yes,
That's not why
yes.
Marcus Garvey himself.
And
Marcus Garvey, stop, sir. Marcus Garvey himself didn't say that. Marcus Garvey himself said exactly why he left Jamaica and went to America
why was
for
that?
his movement. He did that because he tried to start his movement, the movement of the whole repatriation of Africa. He tried to start that in Jamaica first. The Jamaican people were not going for that. Marcus admitted that. Marcus said that. Jamaica was not for that. Okay? He was not able to get his movement off the ground. This is according to him. Now, you brought Marcus Garvey up. According to Marcus Garvey, he wasn't able, Jamaicans was not on that. So he had to come to America when America had already had a black unity movement before Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey didn't start anything, okay? But there was soil there for Marcus Garvey and his movement. And when he was deported back to Jamaica and he tried to start his movement in Jamaica again, they still was like, no, we not having it.
Okay,
Jamaica has historically rejected Marcus Garvey, and every time y'all want to bring Marcus Garvey up, y'all don't ever mention. I find it interesting that y'all don't ever mention the fact that Jamaica denied Marcus Garvey twice, and has historically not been on that page. And if you want to talk about that, and there's a lot of people, and I'm sure nobody's going to bring it up. It's a lot of people who have a very mixed opinion of Marcus Garvey when they find out certain things. Now, I'm still doing my research, but the whole Marcus Garvey thing. You want to talk about Jamaican influence? Where was the Jamaican influence in Jamaica? Why wasn't Marcus Garvey able to do that in Jamaica then? If y'all have this great influence,
Don't we though?
because and you don't. No, you don't. According to
Really?
Marcus Garvey, you don't. And you're bringing them up. And then the
Okay.
hip hop thing, we made that. What are y'all doing?
No. Man, do your research.
No, I know my research. You bringing up people who not even vouching for Jamaica. Nobody. You got it.
Thank you, Afro. Salute to the panel. Yeah, bro. I just wanted to ask in regards of this really weird contextualization of Black American history, and you're just dropping. We started hip hop. We did this, and even just going back to the Marcus Garvey thing. Do you know who helped get Marcus Garvey here? He dropped anyway. It was Booker T.
Kick
Washington.
him out. He dropped.
Like a large portion of Marcus Garvey's entire swag or his entire sauce came from Booker T. Washington. So I don't understand this whole idea of he came here and started a movement. No, he came here, and a lot of y'all do that. Y'all come in on when the movement is gestating and ongoing, and y'all think just because you did one signatory thing that makes you the king of it. No. Cool Herc did not start hip hop. There's several videos that says I showed up and I learned from the Black American DJs, Disco King Mario, DJ Flowers. They showed me all this stuff. Y'all didn't give us sound systems. Y'all didn't give us the sound classes. We were doing all these things prior to him even coming over here.
Exactly.
So y'all got to stop this.
Even what's his name? They call him Cool Herc. Cool Herc doesn't even try to profess to be the creator of hip hop.
Exactly.
He doesn't even try to claim that. Y'all trying to give Cool Herc some type of badge or medal that he's not even trying to claim.
They let the media publication. Hold on, let me real quick. You got it now. They let the media publication that are non-Black American, anyone else who's not us, start these platitudes, and then when we try to correct it, you have people like Fat Joe saying, "Oh, hip hop is 50% Black American, 50% Puerto Rican," and we start clarifying, "No, it's not. Y'all showed up to the party with cups and some paper plates. Y'all was around. Y'all didn't invent this." I'll land my plane.
Yeah. Also, let me just add, this is nothing new. I'm a lot older than probably you guys. I'm 64 years old, and we went through the same thing with rock and roll, with country, with jazz. Is that it's directly from the Black American experience, but the WT people claim, and they used to claim it 100%. Now most of them backed off and say, okay, now we agree. But they used to do the same thing. They claim that they did rock and roll. They claim that they did jazz. They claim that they started country. They made all those claims and they were all false. And I hear a lot of these other people from the diaspora doing the same thing, and it's just infuriating to me.
Yeah, and let me correct myself. I said something about Lucia woman she is from the Americas. I said Carolina. I just did my research. I was confusing that with another older skeleton that was discovered in Carolina, but it wasn't Lucia woman. All right. I wasn't sure and I was getting it confused, but there have been older Black skeleton, like centuries prior to, the slave trade found here. So I just want to give that correction, because I'm not trying to spew any misinformation or whatever the case may be. I just want to do that real quick, and I want to continue. Let's get to now. You had something to say. The view from I don't know what's your name.
Yeah.
What's your ethnicity? What's your ethnicity? The view. Where are you from?
I'm sorry. Can I just ask the host a question?
I'm a mod. I'm allowed to do that. What's your ethnicity? Where you're from?
Okay, so I'm half Black American, half Puerto Rican, half Afro Puerto Rican.
Thank you. You can continue.
Yeah. So I just wanted to ask the host this question, because I remember you from months ago prior to the election where you were trying to convince Black Americans to vote for Trump. Why would you try to convince Black Americans to vote for a white supremacist who is now actively erasing Black American history? It seems like you're an agent, if I'm being honest. Now you're trying to push division amongst Black people, but previously you were trying to convince them to vote for somebody who you knew was going to fuck over Black Americans, who you knew was going to strip away our history from schools, was going to strip away our history from history books, who was going to strip away our history from government websites and museums, who they promised they were going to take away funding from HBCUs. They talked about it. And yet you were trying to convince Black Americans. I even looked at your profile just to make sure I had the right guy. And I looked at your older videos and I'm like, oh, this is the same guy I came across months ago.
Okay.
So why? So if you're pretending to care about Black Americans, why did you push for Black Americans to vote for a white supremacist who would then fuck Black Americans over?
Okay. Okay. What did I say exactly?
If you even hey, listen, go on this guy's profile, scroll
No,
down.
ma'am, ma'am. No,
No,
you
no,
made a
I'm
claim,
saying what you're
ma'am.
saying. I'm
Come
saying
on
what you're
now.
saying.
Come
I'm
on,
saying
don't
what
do
you're
that.
saying.
Don't do that. Don't do
I'm
that.
providing evidence as
Ma'am,
well.
ma'am, you made a claim
On your
that I was
profile, you said
pushing
that
for
Project
people. Ma'am,
2025 was merely a
hold on.
scare
I'm gonna
tactic.
let you speak. I'm gonna let you speak, ma'am. Let me just, we're having an adult conversation. I'm gonna let you speak. I don't even want to mute you. Okay. I'm not gonna kick you off. What did I say? Because you're making a claim that I was pushing or endorsing Donald Trump. So I'm asking you, what did I say? Before I even respond fully to what you just said, what did you hear me say?
You were saying that Black people should not vote for the Democratic Party, that all the things that they were saying about Trump and Project 2025 was a lie. It was a scare tactic. And if you look on your profile, you have a whole video saying Project 2025 scare tactic, trying to convince Black Americans that all the things that they knew that they were worried was going to happen with having these white supremacists in the White House, you're trying to convince them that that wasn't going to happen. And now look what's happening.
Okay. So let me ask you a question.
You knew.
Because hold on, ma'am. Hold on. Maybe you
You're an
might,
agent. You're an
maybe
agent.
you might, hold
And now
on.
you're an agent of
Maybe,
division.
Man,
Now
could
that
you
now,
you're
let him
when I let you
respond?
speak,
into
when
the
I
White
let you
House.
Could
speak,
you let
notice
him
I don't cut
respond,
her off.
ma'am? Relax.
When I let her speak,
No, I'm
notice
not.
I
I
don't
don't
cut
like
her off.
traitors. I don't like
I
traitors. I
don't
don't like
let her,
people
I
who
don't cut
pretend
her
to
off.
be pro-black
Ma'am, if
and
you
then
asking me a question, you came up here asking me a question and now you won't even let me speak. See, now I just had to mute you. Okay. Now, the first thing she said is I made a video endorsing Donald Trump, trying to get people to vote for Donald Trump. I said, okay, I didn't say anything. I said, okay, what did I say? And then she says, I made a video telling people not to vote for the Democrats. And I'm trying to listen to when she said, I said anything about voting for Donald Trump. Okay. I never said that.
yes,
And
you
I
did.
was waiting for her to go. Hold on, ma'am. Hold
You
on.
had multiple
Because
lives where you did. I saw.
I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt with as much grace as I can. Maybe you don't know. I've made several videos on TikTok, on my Instagram, and on YouTube telling people I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump. I don't endorse Donald Trump. I don't endorse JD Vance. The video that she's probably referring to, I'm saying that the Democratic Party has abused black people, which I don't think a black person, an honest black person, can deny. The Democratic Party uses black people. They come and they pander. There's a lot of empty pandering and empty gesturing and symbolism of black people, and they abandoned black people after the election. That's what I said. That is what I said. Okay. I didn't say to vote for Donald Trump. I didn't say I was going to vote for Donald Trump. I didn't say to vote for a Republican. I didn't say nothing. I said, don't get out here and make them get and let them gaslight you and talk about how bad, or the boogeyman, and talk about how they're the lesser of two evils when there's white supremacy on the Republican side and also on the Democrat side. Y'all just conveniently leave that stuff out.
No,
Y'all
because that's
conveniently,
a
hold on,
lie.
ma'am,
You know it.
hold on, ma'am, hold on. Y'all conveniently leave out when all of the Joe Biden with the crime bill, him calling black people and y'all conveniently leave out all of the racist stuff that he's done or other Democrat politicians have done. Is that's so we only care about racism when it's the Republicans, or do we care about racism period? That's what I was saying. Never told anybody to vote for Donald Trump. I myself have told you guys I'm not voting for Donald Trump.
Right.
Can I ask you
I've
something?
said that
Can I
No,
ask you
several
something?
times.
Let me
don't try to
ask you a
gaslight
question.
now. Don't try
No,
to
no,
change
and
the
don't. No,
rhetoric
what you mean?
now.
Don't try to gaslight. They can quote me. They can go back to the
Why don't you let me
videos
answer?
and quote. Go ahead, Ben. Go ahead. What you
Don't
got to say?
try to change the rhetoric now, because even several people in the comments said they remember your lives where you were telling black people that what Democrats were saying, and not just Democrats, but what people who were independent were saying Donald Trump was going to do, because they knew that he was a white supremacist. They knew they were going to fuck over black Americans. And you were telling them that was a lie and that was a scare tactic.
Can
Don't
I
worry
ask you a
about it.
question? Can I ask you a
You
question?
said it. Several people in the
I'm
comments are
not.
even
Let
saying
let
it.
me say. I
I
will.
remember it. I'm
I'll
looking
give
at
you.
your
Let me give
profile.
you that.
I
Let me.
see
Can I
it.
give you,
So don't try to
ma'am?
gaslight people.
Ma'am, I'm not trying to. I'm
Gaslight
asking a
what?
question. Okay, this is an open panel, and I'm giving you a
See,
lot
look, the
more
people in
time
the
than I've
comments
given
even
everybody
verifying.
else. And I'm trying to be fair to you. I'm giving you more time. I've given a lot of
No,
other
I don't
people.
care about the
Let
time.
me
I
be
really don't.
fair.
I
No,
just
no,
came up
no,
here to
no,
say that
no.
you're an agent.
Because
I don't
every time I
care.
let you
I'm gonna.
start speaking, you get to lying and saying, "Well, I remember," and then you start
You
changing
are
the
an
story
agent
and
of
moving the
division.
goalposts,
Emotional.
ma'am. No, you're moving
White
the
supremacy.
goalposts now.
Emotional.
Changed the
I'm
story
moving the
3 times,
goalposts. I'm gonna
Afro.
have
But
to
Black
kick you off.
yeah,
Americans,
you
and now
changed the
I'm
you're
gonna have
story
to
three
kick you
times,
off.
ma'am.
Okay, I'm gonna have to kick you off. Do you see? I was letting her speak. Here's the thing. What was a lot of that stuff true about what they said? Yes. Was a lot of that stuff incorrect about what they said? Yes, it is. Politicians do. Can I tell y'all a secret? Maybe y'all don't know. I'm gonna tell y'all a secret. This is gonna blow y'all mind.
Politicians
It's
play
gonna blow it.
politics.
Okay. Politicians lie.
Exactly.
Dun dun dun. Politicians lie. Democrat and Republican, they lie about their opponent so they can get votes. Oh, y'all go, y'all. I know your minds is probably blown. You probably fell off on the floor, or whatever the case may be. Politicians lie, and unfortunately, we can call out lies unless they're Democrats. Then we can't call out the lie. I'm not. I'm nonpartisan. I will call out a lie from Donald Trump. I will call out a lie from the Democratic Party as well too. Okay. I said several times, Donald Trump has already been president. If Donald Trump wanted to do something for black people, he would have did it the first time. So it would be naive for me to believe that he would get in the second time and then do something for black people. He's not going to do anything more for black people than he did the first time. And he didn't do nothing for black people the first time. So why would I think he would do something the second time? So because he's not going to do anything, he doesn't deserve my vote. Now you had Biden in there for 4 years. He gave everybody else besides black people something to hold on to, and he ignored us, turned his whole back on us, sticked his middle finger up at us. Okay, and now we got to say, okay, well, hold on now, but we got to remember the lesser of two evils. And I'm gonna say, okay, when are we gonna kind of get out that treadmill? When are we gonna jump off the treadmill? And as I'm having a respectful conversation, if she's an advocate for the Democratic Party, y'all need to do a lot better. Y'all need to do a lot better.
How is she making? First of all, how's she making claims? Then switch her story 3 times, and then clarify when you established this fact or whatever she was saying. It just kept changed, and then whenever you try to respond, it's you're an agent, you're an agent, you're an agent. By G, that's projection. I'm really understood as to what her point was or what direction she was going to. Like if you need Shorty, if you want to have a conversation, cool. But this whole, it just seems like you were more upset about how certain things were clarified by Afro instead of having the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, geez, Louise, bro, that's brainwash shit.
Let me ask you a question about the Democrats and
Hold
Republicans.
on. Outcast Ace, where you from? What's your ethnicity and where are you from?
I'm from London. I'm
What's
black.
your ethnicity?
I'm black.
No, not your race, your ethnicity.
Ethiopian.
Ethiopian? Okay, go right ahead. Ask your question.
Basically, how come the black people in America don't have their own political party instead of voting between Democrats and Republicans?
Okay, well, let me ask you a question. What
That's what the Black
racial,
Panther
hold up,
movement
let me
was
ask you
at the
this
time.
question, because that's not how America works.
I asked you a question though. I just know how come you
Okay,
don't
well,
have
I
one.
can answer the question with a question, but let me say something. Let me just give you it point blank. That's not how America works. Everybody's asking, why don't black people have their own
Why
political
not?
party? There is not a single ethnic group that has their own political party.
No,
That's
but
not
the
how
reason why you
America
don't need
works.
your own political party at a time when you lot was freed as slaves, there was only two political parties, right?
Who's
There was
asking?
only
Was that
Democrats.
Juju or Outcast? I thought that was
No,
Outcast.
Juju
as
speaking.
in there was
Okay,
only Democrats and Republicans when you lot were freed as slaves, right? To choose from,
okay.
right? So that's when they played the game. That's when the whole game got played. There was soft power and like strong power. You get it? If you go down south, it was more harsher. If you go up north, it was more softer. So why haven't you not gone through the Huey Newton way and made your own political party? Because every single time I heard a black person try to make a political party in America, they get killed. Like Fred Hampton,
Okay,
Okay.
you're asking why haven't we did it, and then you just explain why
No,
haven't
but
that.
why? I think you lot should continue doing it every single time. You lot seem like as something happens, one gets killed. You lot just carry on acting like it's not going on, and you just vote
But
into
That's
okay,
each
I
other
don't know
and
how much you
complain
know
about what
about
happened.
America. Stop, brother, because I'm gonna be honest. I let her go, but we're way off subject. I mean, we're so far off subject. It's not even close. And I kind of just answered the question. That's not America's. That's not the way America works. If we've been trying to,
But
and
you
there
didn't have a say
to
at
a
the start,
degree,
though.
brother. Stop. Can I explain?
You never had
Okay.
a you never had a say. I'm just saying you never
you
had a
gonna are you
say
gonna
from
do
the
you want
beginning.
to answer, or are you gonna keep talking,
Okay.
my G? You
No,
can't
but
talk and
he's
sing at the
missing my
same
point.
time.
I'm just saying he's missing my point. When you
My
got
G,
free
my
the
G.
slaves,
Then
you
then
never had options.
Outcast, take a second and listen before you respond.
But I'm listening. I'm just not
All right,
understanding what
then
he's
No,
saying.
you're
listen
not
on mute.
listening.
Just listen on mute.
Because the
You're
thing
talking
is
every
not
6 seconds. Just
complicated.
calm down,
It's not
bro.
complicated. Okay. America doesn't have a ethnic based policy party. They have two different parties where multiple people from different ethnicities can join. Allegedly, of course, that's how it's supposed to be. That's how it's supposed to be. There have been people who've tried to start a black party and reach the political sphere. However, that's a lot easier said than done. You're really not going to be able to do that. The structure of America was not structured in that way. And then there are people who have tried to do that, and a lot of them have been unalive, to put it in TikTok language. All right. But let's kind of
Yes,
go
that's
back. Let's
true.
kind
That's
of get
true.
back on the train tracks to the conversation here.
Yeah, I know. But either way, it doesn't make sense. I don't see how you lot are going to go forward if you don't have your own option. Because
Well,
the
I
structure you're
don't.
saying, you never.
Maybe you need to,
Sorry
have
about
it
that,
be in
bro.
another conversation then, because
Sorry
you.
about that.
I don't know why you even asking that question. To be very
Sorry,
honest.
host. I
Hey,
feel
hey,
like
can I
just
give
from
it
an
a thought?
outside
Thought?
perspective, I feel like that's why sometimes it gets a bit like, difficult to communicate in certain things. So obviously I feel like from an outsider, I would apologize on his behalf because I feel like he was being a bit. I don't want to speak on his behalf, but it's from me, it's a bit ignorant. You know what I mean? But I feel like if we go back to the prompt, I think sometimes if we was to say it like this, yeah, if we was to watch people who we feel like we're related to or connected to, although you may not feel like you are as connected to us as you or we say or whatnot, but we feel like if you cannot get your own, then why can't you join with us, or why can't we come to some type of arrangement where we are allies to you guys? That's what I would see it as. You don't have to come back, but you should still see us as allies. That's
I
just what
think
I have to say.
I think
We
it's a
were
value
allies
in it.
last year.
Hold
If you
on.
gonna go on the topic, you know what I'm saying. I think the push to go back to Africa for African Americans is more the fact that the struggles that we have in this country, like for the last 100 years or more. You know what I mean? We've been voting for like what 65 years at the most, and we're going back to the same old, same old. It's going to be another struggle. It's like it's never happened. So, yeah, the push to go back to Africa is because, hey, what we going to stay here and go through the same struggles another 100 years? You know what I mean? It's the same struggle over and over.
Not struggling.
Okay. Well,
Not really.
let's
Not
get to
really.
the lines, because there's been a
Because
line.
it ain't just about slavery.
Not
People always
really.
base it on
Yeah.
slavery,
And
but
and I,
what about the hundreds of years after slavery? You know,
but
like Jim
brother, I'm gonna
Crow.
be honest.
You know, what I mean?
To be fair with that, brother, there's struggles going on, and I said this earlier in the live stream. There's struggles going on in Africa.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Africa is not Wakanda. First of all, we have this is our homeland. This is the land our ancestors built. Yes, there is struggle. There is struggle everywhere in the world. There's not a place in the world you can go to where you can't find struggle, where you can't find their people struggling to some degree. Somebody's doing good, somebody's not doing good. That's the same way in America. Well, some of us are doing good, some of us are not doing good. Overall, there is a struggle because there is a global, and we have to understand this. This is not just an American thing. There is a global system of white supremacy. All right. So that's why
But right
leaving,
now, that
trying
ain't
to
just about
leave and
African
flee is
Americans,
not
though.
going to
The
save
push to go
anything. It's
back
not
to
going to
Africa is
fix the
not just
problem.
about African Americans, though. The push to go back to Africa, they're saying they're pushing that in Jamaica. They pushing that all in the Caribbean. They're pushing that everywhere because everywhere where black people have migrated at, you know what I'm saying, the Europeans lay up there and run. We're at the bottom of the bucket. So why not go
And
back
there's
home?
Africans in Africa who have never moved anywhere from Africa, and
That's a
they're at the
fact.
bottom. They're
Africa
at
is
the
not my
bottom
home.
of the bucket
Can I say
in
something?
their own
Because
country
of what?
because of the
Because of
system
Western
of the
rule.
global system of white
But it
supremacy.
seemed like
All right,
Africa waking up. I mean,
and
we look at
okay,
Can I say
So
and
what?
something?
that's
We
good for
waking up
them, and
too.
I wish
yeah.
them the best. That's good for them, and I wish them the best. And
That's
they're
right. We
fighting in
waking
their
up too.
homeland, and we're going to continue fighting in our homeland the way we're
Exactly.
supposed to be doing.
Let me
Now,
say
if you
something
But
want to
real
hold
quick.
run,
on,
you
let
can
me
go to
get to
Africa though.
everybody. Hold on, everybody, because we kind of jumped the line a little bit.
If you want to
Have a
run though,
live
you can
stream.
go to
I do
Africa.
have a live stream on YouTube later on, so I definitely want to get to that. But let me get to
Prototype.
social. Let me get to social moth.
How you doing, brother?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Do I need to announce what I am, or can I just say what I was going to say?
Well, for the sake of me, yeah, just announce it if you don't mind. Just
Yeah,
go
no
ahead.
problem. So, I'm Black American, specifically Louisiana Creole, but I'm a Black American. Louisiana Creole on my mother's side, just Maryland Black. That's where my ancestors been for a long time on my dad's side. I wasn't really going to hop on originally because the truth is, my people have been here for about 300 years. Whether you're Black American, if you're Black American like I am, your people have been here for somewhere between 400 and 200 years. And I don't plan to go to Africa. So I didn't really have beef with the prompt, but I did have beef with something you said. And I'm really not going to argue. I'm going to be really quick, but I see a lot of misinfo in this app, and I just want to provide other Black Americans with information for them to come to their own conclusion. I don't want pseudoscience, you know what I mean, amongst our people. So, if you want to stay in America, I plan to stay in America. I got no beef with you. Why not? We've been here for a long time, and we did build not every version, but the version that exists now. We built that. However, you should know where you're from. So, the idea that we
You shouldn't.
are
Where we're from? I'm sorry.
that's what I'm gonna get into. I'm gonna get into it right now.
No,
So,
I just didn't hear the last thing you said.
oh yeah. So you should know where you're from.
Okay.
Why
We
would she? Why would she? Why
we
would she know?
have
Why we
Okay,
should
let's
know?
let him go. Let's let him go.
so instead of listening to me or listening to another TikToker, I'm well researched when it comes to genetics and anthropology. You should look at your haplogroup so that you'll be able to know that your ancestors are probably West or Central African, whether you want that to be true or not. Doesn't mean you have to go back there. You've been here for a long time. But the idea that we were here in any kind of pre-colonial aspect is pseudoscience, just so you know.
Yeah, right.
The idea that there were skeletons here beforehand, don't trust me. Trust carbon dating. I know what skeletons he's talking about. Check the haplogroups. Check the carbon dating of those skeletons. Check the research. Never just listen to one dude, me or this dude, about that.
Of course not.
Look at
Let's let
peer-reviewed
him go.
research, and it'll become very apparent to you whether you want to go through lingual groups, DNA, which is the obvious and best way to go about it, that your ancestors are West and Central African. They're not even just vaguely African. They're not East African. They're not North African. They're not South African. They're very
Oh, this guy is a
specific
tether,
West
man.
and
What
Central
was
He's not
what was
African.
Let him
Africa
American.
go.
called
Let's let him go.
He's
pre
a
Let's let him
400
go.
tether.
years ago? What was
He's a
Africa called
disguised
pre 400
tether.
Let's
years
let
ago,
him.
sir?
Let's let him go. I'm gonna let you
So
finish.
if you want to stay here, I get you because I do too. Because linguistically,
Of course you want
culturally,
to stay here.
I'm
You're from
American.
Africa.
If
But
y'all don't stop, come on now.
but the idea that there's some kind of secret that we are what, let's say, Cherokee or Mississippians or Iroquois people are is a little silly. I'm gonna keep it a bean with you. Like it's
So
just a
okay.
little
So
It's a
you
out
little
there.
think?
silly.
Hold on. Let me say.
That's an insult, bro.
No, it is. But let me say. Let. I think I got your point right. Let me let my seat up a little bit. You're making the argument that prior to Europeans, there was no black presence in North America or the Americas at all.
Yes.
There was no presence of what you would consider the people you would consider black people. There was no presence at all.
Yes, sir. Correct.
Okay, so the fact that you have statues that look like black people, the fact that you have skeletons that match the Negroid statues, the fact that you have that all throughout. Now, notice you're not just saying America, you're saying the entire Americas, there's been multiple cases of this. The fact that when you look at some of the pictures of the older um, Native Americans who are dark skinned, you look at the older pictures of them and everything. You look at some of the diaries of European explorers who came here and said that there were Negroes here. You're saying that all of this stuff is false and that we were everywhere else in the world except the Americas. And the Europeans were the first people to come to America.
I didn't say the Europeans were the first people who got there. You were right halfway through. Then you kind of, you kind of
I
stressed
was right.
a little bit beyond
Okay,
that.
so where was I? Where did I?
I'll tell you what you said that I believe and what I didn't believe. That'll make it easy.
Okay.
So I do think West and Central Africans had not been on this continent pre the transatlantic slave trade. So you're correct about that.
Okay.
I do not think Europeans are the first people to come to the Americas. I do not believe that. I think ancient Siberians, the people that are commonly considered indigenous, were the first people to come to the Americas. I do think they have a lot of art that looks a lot like us, and that doesn't surprise me because you're talking about, first of all, art, which is interpretive, unlike science. Secondly, there are indigenous people who have phenotypes that are similar to us. There are dark ones. There are ones with broad noses and big lips.
Okay,
We're
let
not
me
the
ask
only
you,
people in the world with
what
that.
makes a Negro at that point?
So
Because
Negro is not a
if we're
technical
going to go,
term.
because all of this is prior to even the concept of a racial category.
Agreed. I'm glad you said that, brother. So let
Okay.
me talk about who I'm saying, because I agree with you there. I'm so glad you said that.
Okay.
Because I can think of a lot of people, Austronesians, Melanesians, that have a lot of traits like us, right? So when I talk about my people, right, I'm talking about people with specific haplogroups from West and Central Africa, which is largely speaking, and this is important. Now, there's an exception to every rule. I could find anybody on this planet with any genetic makeup I can imagine, right? But my point is, largely speaking, over 85 to 95% of the people we call Black Americans today descend from West and Central Africans, right? So because Africa, as you mentioned, is the birthplace of humanity, right? If you really want to go further enough back, which I think is useless from a language perspective, you could say everybody's African. However, you can very easily trace the bulk of Black Americans to people on the Gold Coast. It's really that's where their ancestors come from.
Man, I swear every black person in America, African American, was always African until TikTok came around. Then all of a sudden, y'all everything but African.
No,
Man,
no.
He's saying it the
got
unpolite.
y'all all messed up.
I'm gonna leave that alone. But yeah,
Dude,
brother, you hear
y'all
what I'm
don't
saying.
stop it.
I'm
I'm listening to him, and we're having a respectful adult conversation.
We are,
okay?
and I appreciate that, by the way. I really do.
Okay.
So, like I said, I don't.
I'm just saying who
and I
pushing
think
these
an
theories
Afro
to us,
Elite-
though.
one second,
That's
I'm just
black
saying
people
that
in
you got to go
America.
because we're not doing that.
So Afro Elite, something I do like about you, even though we don't agree, something I think we agree on is no one should take my word or your word for this, right? They should do peer reviewed research, correct? And they should look into this and find the answers themselves. Do we agree on that?
Yes, they should.
All right,
I don't
cool.
think
So-
anybody. Somebody bringing up Dan Calloway. I'm not a follower of Dan Calloway. Here's the thing.
I appreciate that. Let me say one more thing,
I,
then I'm gonna let you talk because I'm almost done. I'm almost
okay, if you're almost done, all right. You got it.
So all I'm gonna say, and then I'm gonna let you speak on however you feel about what I said.
Okay.
There is a insanely larger body of substantiated evidence for what I've explained than the counterpoint, which is the counterpoint of a few fringe scientists that don't have a lot of consistent research in what they're saying.
Okay. If that's the point you made, I'm going to bring up the point of my research, and I encourage everybody here to do their research. This is a little off topic, but it's kind of on topic, okay?
Right.
My research is that in Europe, Europeans were dying out. They had a whole bunch of disease. They had a whole bunch of illnesses. They didn't know how to eat. They didn't know how to do that. The Moors, who I don't know if we can agree on the fact that the Moors came from Africa. Can we agree on that? Okay, well, I'm not sure, but let's say in my research, the Moors who stem from Africa, who are well-known nomads, who are well-known travelers.
I'm just asking. Are you asking me?
The Arab. I'm gonna ask you guys a question, y'all. What continent is Arab? Because Arab is actually not a country. What continent is the Middle East connected to? All right, let's then let me ask you guys. The Moors, who in my research were black and all documentations were black, they came to Europe. They taught Europeans how to do stuff, but they were also well-known travelers. There has been evidence, and I don't have it right here pulled up. I've done this on YouTube multiple times though, but there has been evidence that black people have been trading here prior to the Europeans coming here. There has been, I'm not sure why he's dismissing all of the skeleton and all of that. I'm not sure why that's being overlooked or why that's being dismissed. I don't think calling something pseudoscience can just completely negate that. Right. I don't think pseudoscience, you just calling something, I don't agree with it, well, that's pseudoscience. I think that you need to come a little bit stronger with that, with a base on that. You need to substantiate that a little bit more than saying anything that the Europeans haven't confirmed is pseudoscience. I think that that can be a little bit, and I'm not saying he's trying to, but I think that that can be disingenuous. If you're saying that if the Europeans haven't confirmed it, it's considered pseudoscience. There has been historians, there has been archaeologists that have said, well, there were Negro people here. We have physical evidence that Negro people were here prior to Europeans coming here. Europeans were not the first people to travel the world. Europeans were not the smartest people to travel. Europeans needed translators. There's a lot of evidence that Europeans needed people to come here. And even if we want to say that Europeans came here before in the 1500s and then they had to leave, they brought Moors here. Moors had been here, and this has been documented even according to Europeans, that Moors have been here at the very least since 1526. So when the Spanish first got here and then the Europeans died off and had to flee back to Europe since 1526. Now, this is a little off topic, so I'm going to kind of resurface this back onto the topic because I want everybody else to kind of get a chance to speak. And we don't have too much time because I am going live on my YouTube channel later on in a little less than an hour. So let me... I'm gonna say some yeah, that's a little off topic, but I can respect his research and opinion, and I encourage you, and like our brother here, he's encouraged you to do your own research. Okay, I'm not here to tell you what is 100% true. I'm here to give you the information that I've received. He's here to give you the information he's received, and you all can go ahead and you all can do whatever research you need to do. You can go to my page, go to his page. You can do all of the research you need to do and reach your own conclusion.
When you do that, though, please make sure you use peer-reviewed sources and not just an isolated document that you can't trace back into any hard evidence or data.
Yeah. And to call statues that are modeled after people and the statues are black, you know, like kind of weird evidence, like to dismiss it's like you're belittling all of the evidence that would
not belittling it. I love
we're not here to but I appreciate
you know what I'm saying?
I appreciate that, but I want us to continue the conversation because there's been people who haven't spoken yet and I can't be here that long.
Already.
Yes, sir. Can I say something?
I respect our the fact that we were able to have a civilized dialogue as black adults, black men. We didn't, insult each other or whatever the case is. We didn't disrespect each other, but we disagree and we can agree to disagree and you all can do your own research and that's, that's cool. All right. Let me get to Prototype.
Peace, fam.
What's up, brother?
What's going on, Afro Elite? And to the panel. What was the topic is focused on us being indigenous to the land?
Well, the topic is based off of a couple of videos I've seen, and there seems to be a push where people are getting online talking about we've gone through all of this racism and all of this, through slavery, Jim Crow and stuff we're going through today. Why don't we all just go to Africa, move to Africa? So that's why That's the title. Okay, that's the topic of the video. Is
Oh
why
no,
is
I'm
there a
certain.
push for
Nah, I'm
Black
certain.
Americans to move to Africa?
Oh, we ain't going nowhere. I'm certified Aboriginal. I'm not going nowhere. This is my land. I'm indigenous to this land. My family is indigenous to this land. From the south all the way up to the east, New York City. So yeah, we not going nowhere. And I just wanted to commend you, brother, on your talks and your panels. And I became aware of you on the Black Alpha Network over there with Black Alpha Network and the discussions that's going on over there. And I'm really impressed with the younger generation today, and the topics that we're addressing in this prevalent time, of the paradigm shift, because the paradigm is definitely shifting. And see what's happening is a lot of foreigners, outside people, they see that we are delineating. They understand that we are serious about the process. So now they want to come up with things like, oh, why we can't get along, why we can't come together as one. Nobody wanted to come together when we was offering a hand. Do you recall on many occasions, just like when you were speaking to the brother about the Marcus Garvey situation? Yeah, I understand that Malcolm X, he come from the Garvey experience as well. And what happened with the Garvey experience, man, the many Jamaican and foreign people that was here, they didn't support it. It was the African Americans, it was the FBAs that was here during the time of Garvey that supported Garvey. His own people did not support him, and that's how the movement fell. It's because of his own people, because they was undermining the program and stealing money out of the program. I read a whole book on the Garvey movement. But my point, I'm gonna land my plane, brother. I'm an Aboriginal. My family's from here, from South Carolina, Chattanooga, South Carolina, to Birmingham, Alabama, to Charlotte, all across the South to the East Coast, to New York and Virginia. So yeah, and I ain't never hear about no kente cloth or nothing from any of my ancestors, any of my grandparents, great grandparents. Nothing to that effect was no African uh, folktale story or anything of that nature was told to me as a child. And I'm pushing 60 years old. So I'm gonna land my plane on that, brother. Peace.
Peace, brother. Thank you. I appreciate y'all patience. I'm gonna be real quick so I can get to as many people as possible. We will be having another live soon. I'm not sure when though. I think this is a good topic, and there's a lot of people got a lot of things to say. Let me get to. We're gonna get to too much, and then we're gonna get to win taker. All right.
What's good, brother? Peace, love, reparations, and the blockchain. What's going on with you, brother?
I'm good, brother. How you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling fantastic. Let me just speak to the prompt real quick, man. We're not moving to Africa, especially when we know Africans, everybody's trying to get over here. So that makes no sense when everybody's trying to come here that we're trying to move there. You have no political power or strategy in Africa. There's nothing over there. Don't leave Africans alone. Let them have their country, their homeland. We're not African. We are foundational Black Americans. This
That's
is our
right.
homeland.
And I said
This is where
something.
we stand 10
Hold
toes. No, you
on.
can't,
Can
brother.
you?
No, you can't. Just relax. This is where we stand 10 toes down over here. This is what we built over here. Now we have knowledge and we have information listen, listen, my grandmother, my mother told me I was Cherokee. My father told me I was Blackfoot. We know our lineage and we know where we come from. We know where we're indigenous to. Can't no outsider or can't nobody come up and say they're a scientist and say we don't belong here. I've done my DNA. I've done my genealogy. Where are my living ancestors in Africa? If I'm connected to that continent in any way, I should have a living relative over there. There's zero relatives over there. All I keep finding is foundational Black Americans, all the way down to the seventh cousin or whatever they want to call it, based on ancestry. And DNA can tell you who your mother and your father is. but it's not good. It's not really good or not really useful telling you what plane or terrain that you come from. I know my soil is here. I know my fight is here. I know the fight cannot be won in Africa against the system of oppression. The fight that we're fighting, it can only be fought here. And if we topple this system of oppression, it will weaken all the system of white supremacy globally. So we're fighters. We're not moving anywhere. Nobody's going to trick us with this Pan-Africanism. Nobody's going to make us hate ourselves and love another culture or lineage that don't have no love for us whatsoever. Listen, there are nice people over there. I've been over there. They're nice, very nice people, very hospitable people. But at the end of the day, they know you're not one of them. They're tribal. They're going to stick to their tribe. They're always going to have some kind of scam or little scheme to make sure you don't get included what they got, because they really gatekeep their resource over here. And one thing we're learning is that we have to do the same thing too. And they're mad because we're now starting to gatekeep our resources. That's what they're mad about. They want our resources to become their resources because they're coming over here to take, 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 take. Ask any of them. What have they done for the black community since they've been here? Absolutely
Can I
nothing.
say something, my brother?
No, brother.
Okay,
I'm about to
we're
land
gonna
my
have
plane.
to. You're gonna have to stop, brother, because we just don't.
Yeah, thank you. They've done nothing for the black community since they've been over here. But guess what? When we go to Africa, we're pouring into their economy. We're going to their towns. We're spending money at their business. They don't, when they come here, they don't patron our businesses. They want us to patron their business, but they don't reciprocate those dollars back into our community. When we go to Africa, we reciprocate our dollars into their communities, but when they come here, they don't reciprocate their dollars into our community. Look at what's going on with Juneteenth. They're trying to turn Juneteenth into Caribbean African Fest. They're not respecting our lineage, our ancestors. So no, we're not going to Africa. I mean, we can go over there and chill. We can go over there and build, but understand that anytime a chief gets upset that we got some land over there, that land is going right back. They're gonna take it. They're gonna do some shady stuff. They're gonna practice some type of witchcraft to make you sick, and all kinds of things that's going on over there, brother. I'm just telling you, this is what I know for a fact. We're staying here. We know our enemy. We're here, and we know how to fight on this terrain. We don't know how to fight on that terrain. And I landed right there.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Trying to keep the hand up, keep the hand moving. Let's get to and when we say certain things, I'm pretty sure and I'm pretty sure everybody don't mean 100%. Anytime I speak about a group of people, I don't mean 100% of anybody. Okay? But there does have to be a conversation that we need to have, respectful, an adult conversation that we need to have, discussing the lack of reciprocity when it comes to supporting each other's community, because there is a lack of reciprocity when it comes to supporting Black Americans in particular, in our community in particular, and that needs to be discussed. All right, let me get you. I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but let me get you. Wind Taker, you got it, sister.
What's up, Afro?
How you doing?
My name is Wind Talker Kimmy.
Oh, Talker. Okay,
yes. You good? You good? What's up, panel? My thing is, I want to talk about the topic and why is there a push for Black Americans to move to Africa? My personal opinion, they want to switch places with us, basically, and that, I mean, I don't have an issue with people moving and just moving around and finding different spots to stay in, but it's like now it's like y'all need to just go over there. And then like if everybody coming here, who the hell is over there building if everybody running over here? Like they trying to benefit and get what we got, but then they want us to go over there and help build what they don't want to build. and it's just wild to me now. But with me, my people from Georgia, um, middle Georgia, to Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, Virginia, Kentucky. That's my lineage. I did my research, and personally, I haven't found an African or Caribbean yet, and I'm
Here we
like in
go
the
with this
1700s.
bullshit. Bullshit.
I'm in the 1700s,
Bullshit.
and the people like that right there, the people who always like, it's about the DNA, it's about your DNA. No, it's about your genealogy. If you can't trace your people, your ass is a tether. And you just sitting here trying to cosplay till you just can't cosplay no more. See,
You can't
people
cosplay no
who
more.
know who they are and know who their family lineage is and where they been,
They mad.
this is our house. This is our land. And I've seen maps. I did my research. I did my genealogy. I looked at maps. I done cross-referenced all types of stuff. Haven't found the African yet. And the ones just to be real with you, the ones that I did find that was like Scotland and UK and Ireland, those people were melanated people. So I mean, I found them, but I haven't found an African or a Caribbean yet. And my thing is, we don't have an issue with nobody. Like, it shouldn't be no issue with anybody. Everybody want to just put everything on Black Americans, and that ain't happening no more. And what Prototype said about the youngins, I'm glad that the younger generation now is understanding. Cause remember when we were growing up, all we were heard was, oh, they don't like to read. Now we got a whole generation that's like, oh, we doing research and we reading and we checking and we taking names and kicking asses out here now. So I'm proud to see all the younger people out here now doing what they need to do, finding out who they really are. And too much when he said about the everybody us coming over there. No, only thing in Africa that interested me was just the pyramid, just to be real with you. Everything else, I don't want to go nowhere with people shitting on the ground, excuse me. I don't want to see none of that. I don't want to be around that. I don't want people touching my food. I don't want none of that. I just want to be on my land, tilling it, and making sure that my ancestors know that I'm doing the right thing, because we trying to get all these people up off our land and they need to go and fix their own homes.
Okay, but this is why I said to you, if we're a diaspora, right, and we're gonna consider it to say anything, okay, when we go to South America, when we go to the Caribbean, even if we're talking about the Spanish-speaking countries, right, we always see remnants of African traditions and cultures. I'm of a mixed heritage. I'm half Trinidadian and I'm half Nigerian, so it's like I have a wider perspective of certain things, right? When I've been to South America as well, like bear that in mind, and it's like I saw remnants of African traditions that are found in Nigeria. So, although you may not feel like very connected to Africa, and maybe you know what you'd like, and how you said with the genealogy, that is spot on, because you might have maybe one, or I don't want to say one, but you may have multiple ancestors that are of Native American, Indigenous American, but it may not show up because the research on those particular people, whether it was on purpose or whether it was by accident, wasn't extensively researched. And if they did go through any form of like G side, then it would be very hard to trace them genealogically, like in the genealogy. So I can say that, but you have to understand that people outside will still see you as a collective of other people. Same way how the European nations, they sit amongst each other, discuss things amongst each other in a civilized manner. What we're saying is that we have to find a way amongst ourselves to do that. That's all I would just say. How are we going to do that is what I'm trying to ask, you know?
That I think that can be a That's definitely a conversation worth having, but we just don't have time this evening to have that conversation. I want to say one thing when it comes to the argument of the genealogy, the arguments people try to use, to say, okay, well, your genealogy traced from Africa. Okay, I don't think any black person here is trying to deny any sort of connection to Africa. But when black people, including myself, I will say, when black people say that there were black people in America prior to Europeans, and you kind of refute that with DNA, like the brother said, first off, to trace DNA back thousands of years is going to be inaccurate. People who trace back DNA, do you understand how many people and how much DNA, how many people that goes back to from different places? When they do the DNA trace, they can't pinpoint, hold on, they can't pinpoint exactly.
It's going
Okay,
down. You know.
if you can't, I'm sorry, they can't pinpoint exactly where you're from. They give a rough estimate of the DNA, of the information that they do have. They say you are most likely, or your DNA is most likely connected to these sort of people, okay, from this area of the world. You have to understand, this is thousands, this is hundreds of years. So there's been a lot of repatriation, there's been a lot of migration, there's been a lot of that stuff. So solely going off of DNA is going to leave you with an inaccurate conclusion, in my opinion. That's why you have to use other information. When you go to museums, you can see that there is, like he just said, remnants of Africa in North America. Okay, prior to Europeans, you can see that. You can see different foods that are the same foods in Africa, the same recipes in Africa. They're using the same recipes in North America prior to Europeans. You can see the same artwork, the same tools, the same designs. You can see similarities, which is incredible if these people were never connected whatsoever prior to Europeans. Okay. What's that one? Yeah, there's that one rice milk thing that I think a lot of I don't know what they call that, but that stuff is pretty much the same thing, is made just with a different ingredient in Africa, because that ingredient doesn't grow in Mexico. Okay, so there are different things. Now this video isn't about that, or this live stream isn't about that, but like I'm saying, you can all do your research. Horchata, I think it's called horchata. That's what I think it's called. There's a very similar but just different, because the ingredients are different, version of that existed in Africa before. All right. So everybody just do your research about it. I'm not trying to tell you what's true or not true. I'm telling you what my research has led me to believe, and you all can do your own research about that. And if y'all don't agree, that's fine. We're going to wrap things up very shortly. So let's get to these hands real quick. Let's get to Kit Kat.
Oh, hey, can you hear me?
I can. What's on your mind, sister?
I only came up here because really I was called. I felt like I should have came up here because that lady who was trying to say that you were trying to persuade people to vote for Donald Trump. I follow. I've watched your YouTube. I've seen your TikToks. I don't really say much. I just really just be like, just listening. Half the time I'm at work, or I've heard you also on Twitter Spaces. I have never ever once heard that you promote to vote for one party or the other. I've heard you say that basically. For the couch, I am not going to vote for anybody. And so when somebody comes up there and makes a claim and then or asks you a question and not let you speak, when I've heard you for maybe the last couple years, and I have never heard that. So that's one reason why I'm like, I don't like that. Also, she was using like division, and I hate to say it, but a lot of melanated immigrants who come to the United States, there's already a divide. There's already a division. And I don't think that they like when Black Americans give them the same energy that they've been giving us and also each other. I don't see you guys say anything about the Africa saying no to Haiti joining the African Union, or I don't see the Caribbeans have anything to say, because we're not part of CARICOM. But the moment we get, it's like they'll put one stake on the table for Black Americans, and you have all these other people will sit here and try to jump on it. But when it's time for them to feed us, they're looking at us like you're not us. And let's be honest, we have to really be real. If people want this so-called unity that doesn't even exist for other melanated groups, then let's have a real honest conversation. You cannot say it goes both ways, because it doesn't. Also, I say I do agree with like too much it was prototype and wind talker, because I can tell you I have traced my people very, very far. Some of us have family Bibles that have records. One thing about us in the Black Americans or the United States, you will know that we actually kept really, really strong records. You have the census records, marriage certificates, birth certificates, any type of certificate the government makes or does. Not only that, you can go to the courthouse and request the certificates of people in your family. And I will say that I personally have no but I'm not going to Africa. I have no ties to Africa like that. I don't really have a connection to Africa. I will tell you, it's just never been a thing. I can feel like a lot of times, I think a lot of melanated Africans who come here, they're always kind of like, how can you, a lot of them don't like that. They stick out like a sore thumb. You can tell by looks, also the energy. I don't think a lot of people understand, like we can tell. So it's like, I have no connection or ties. A lot of elders in my family are actually older than a lot of the countries that are named today in Africa. And I will tell you, a lot of the elders, they laugh. They're like, no, we have no ties. There's nothing. But I can tell you that I have records and land and in my family's name here. So why would I go back and help build something when I have land here? Not even that, land that was stolen. And I think there's a reason why they're trying to push for us to go back to, or try to have us go to Africa, because a lot of Black Americans, if they really study their family, you're going to find that a lot of that land that was originally yours was taken. They would kill, particularly they would unalive a lot of the men in our family, and then they will move in and just basically squatter rights. There's a reason why in America squatters have rights. So I think that people need to be very mindful. Like, yes, there is a overall history of Black Americans, but each person in Black American FBA, they have their own family story. So to sit here and say what happened to my family, what happened to my ancestors, technically might not have happened to that person. We all have a different story, and what happens is they just group everybody together and they say this is what happened. But I'm like, no. And a lot of people will even tell you, you talk to a lot of the elders in your family, they'll tell you we wasn't even called African American. And when they started changing us, we was reclassified like 5 times. And when they changed us to African Americans, if you speak to a lot of your elders, they'll tell you, like, we didn't even want it. We did not want this. They'll tell you that. But what happens is people go with this narrative that was pushed to from mainstream media that has been embellished, manipulated, and they say this is what happened. But a lot of us who've been here for a very long time will tell you that if when you were sitting here with your big mama, your aunties, your uncles, they will tell you certain things about either what happened on their land, their family, that guess what? The United States government will not let the world know, because they know that what they did was very, very harmful to us. So that's what I think they're you can sit here, try to go, but if you don't research your family and you just want to sit here and hop on to go to Africa train, you might have an inheritance that was stolen that you can get back if you do your research of your family history and help others do the research of their family history. Because I can trace my people back further than even most so-called United States citizens can. Oh, go ahead. You're good. That's all I have to say.
No, thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate, and everybody should do that. There's like I'm trying to get people to understand, there's an agenda to get us to really denounce this land here. There's this big agenda. Nobody else in the world says that they should leave the country that their people are from. Nobody else makes that argument. But there's a real big agenda for us in particular, for us to disassociate ourselves with the country we built. There's a big agenda, okay? There's a big agenda. Now, when we even talk about the DNA and we even talk about the research of that and everything like that, like I said, a lot of that stuff, and a lot of the thing is that somebody said, oh, everybody is saying that they were African before TikTok. Actually, that's not true. That's not true. My whole life, and there's people their whole life, we've always claimed that there have been black people here before the slave trade. That's always been a thing in a black community. This thing that where people are like gaslighting and saying, oh, this hasn't been a thing before TikTok. That's not true. We've always heard things of black people being here before the slave trade. We've always heard that. So the narrative of people doing that is really to gaslight and to make us lose, to make people on TikTok feel like, okay, this is just this new trend and people don't know what they're talking about. The thing is like, in even the conversation of division, there's always been these talks. Now, TikTok, like Twitter, like YouTube and all of this stuff, it's allowed a lot of people to come together and really share receipts. It's allowed a lot of people to come together and have a conversation. All of us are having conversations. Now, 50 years ago, this was impossible. There was no cell phone. There was no social media or nothing like that, where people from different states and different countries even can be at live, having a live conversation. That didn't exist. That didn't mean the problem didn't exist. It's just the fact that the conversation about the issue wasn't able to happen. So now that the conversation about the issue was able to happen, that doesn't mean that the conversation is new. These conversations, these talking points, this evidence has existed for a very long time. All right. Let me get you, because I definitely don't want to be too long, because I don't want to be late on YouTube. Y'all definitely subscribe. If you don't mind, subscribe on YouTube. Let me get to Apostle.
Greetings, family. I very much enjoyed the topic. And I'm speaking as the director of the first global Pan-African Farmers Cooperative, with farmers from multiple African countries, and also a member of the Black Farmers Association here in the United States, in Virginia, and also the Caribbeans. Now, I think we are a little bit misguided in this topic about going back to Africa, because I travel to Africa 4 times a year with groups of African Americans and Caribbeans who are investing in commercial agriculture. This is what I want to say. The blood, sweat, and tears of our formerly enslaved ancestors is soaked in this land, United States. Some of the indigenous people in America were melanated people, like the Chiptoks. And those people also migrated from Africa way before the Europeans actually got to this part of the world. That is not to say some of our ancestors were not enslaved from West Africa and brought to the Americas, North and South, because I've heard some people be saying it's not, they think Jamaica is different from them, or Haiti is different. It's all the same people. African Americans, Jamaicans, Afro Latinos, they're all the same people. But there were melanated groups already in this space called America today. Now, that's not the point that I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is this. We melanated people are the most disrespected amongst the human race. We must all agree that. It does not matter if you are FBA, you are Indigenous, you are a Native American, you are New Guinea Papau, you are Aborigines. We are the most disadvantaged, economically disrespected around the world. How do we solve that problem? We solve that problem by start reconstructing a commonwealth. Europeans have a commonwealth. So it does not matter if they are European Americans, Europeans in Australia, Europeans in Germany, Europeans in Italy, Europeans in Paraguay, Uruguay, Chile. These people, they go out, colonize, and capture. That is why they socio-economically and politically dominate the melanated groups around the world. So the fight should not be African this, African American that, African. No, we should be leveraging the enormous human and natural resources we have around the world in order to be successful enough to fight these people wherever they are. For example, the Chinese.
Now, for the sake of time, I'm gonna say this.
Yeah.
That idea has been posed multiple times in the past. That idea has been proposed, sorry, in the past. Okay. And if we're going to have this, if you're true in what you're saying, and I'm going to take you for your word that you're true in 100% of what you're saying, you do have to understand that that idea is not working, is not viable.
No, no, no. It is viable, my brother.
Listen.
Go
The
to my
only reason
profile. Go
it's
to my
not, the
profile.
reason it's not is because we would need everybody to get on that page of unity. And we've seen multiple times that when it comes to Black Americans, there's this denial of unity. There's this rejection, better said, of unity. For instance, the sister before Kit Kat, she said about CARICOM, Black America is not represented in CARICOM. And nobody has an issue with that. When it comes to our representation in their organizations, they've taken different countries and different representatives and left us completely out the conversation.
No, the United States,
brother,
they,
hold on,
no,
listen,
no, bro,
brother, hold on,
no,
listen,
I have
brother,
to jump in
hold on.
because you are making false
You
assertions.
got to listen.
The U.S. foreign policy objective doesn't allow African
Okay,
Americans to
if
be
you
in
don't,
external
bro, that's not the only example I'm gonna bring up. Okay. Because that's not an issue. We don't raise that as an issue. Even when Malcolm X had went to Africa, when he had went to Africa and he came back and he was trying to create this unity then. And he came back pretty much like, hey, they really not on that page.
No, wrong.
Brother, hold
No.
on. Malcolm X,
I belong to the
brother,
nation
if
of
you
Islam.
don't stop.
I was in the Nation of Islam. Wrong. That history that you are giving out is completely wrong. I
Okay,
teach
well, if
manual
you're not gonna
classes.
let me speak, I'm not gonna be able to. Malcolm X is not Ghanaian. His mother is. He's half. Y'all keep saying he's Ghanaian like he's full-blooded Ghanaian, and he's not. The thing is that this unity does not exist as a two-way street. The unity that, oh, we need to come together and we need to fight together and we need to do all of this stuff together. And I'm all like, okay, when we have tried to do that, when we have tried to create this bridge, it's not been this reciprocal bridge. Okay. It's been a bridge when it comes to us. It's been a one-way bridge where you guys get to come over here and we're fighting and making the sacrifices for you all to come over here. You all get to live an American life, the American dream. But that same amount of sacrifice has not been reciprocated when it comes to the diaspora. It has not. Okay. There's been multiple conversations we've had right here. We've had right here where we've had people say, we don't want Black Americans in CARICOM, not CARICOM. We don't want Black Americans at Carnival. Okay. Or the second we try to do something that's quote unquote African themed or Caribbean themed, we get called cultural appropriators for doing that stuff. So unless we're going to be honest about why that already doesn't exist, because we've had people try to make that exist before. This is not new. Unless we are going to be honest about why that doesn't exist, why people have tried and failed, we're never going to get anywhere. So I'm willing to have a respectful, honest conversation about that. But if we're going to lie and we're going to gaslight like the problem doesn't exist, if we're going to belittle the issue, then there's no need to have that conversation. Honestly. I'm going to, they were dragging, do y'all remember that a couple years ago? They were dragging Michael B. Jordan. They were dragging Michael B. Jordan, saying how disrespectful he was, how Michael B. Jordan was cultural appropriating and everything like that. They was up here dragging Michael B. Jordan. Okay. And then when we do, now y'all want to talk about this Pan-Africanism and unity. And what we're seeing is that, and this is why the delineation movement is taking a thing, is that we're seeing that this, first off, we need to we need to establish ourselves as our own group regardless. We're going to have to establish ourselves as our own group regardless, because we are. But what we are seeing is that this unity thing is very one-sided, where when it's y'all stuff, we can't touch it. But when it's our stuff, it's all Black people stuff and everybody gets to have access to it. Okay? Y'all don't want us to bite off anything that y'all do from the diaspora. We can't bite off anything from the Caribbean. We can't bite off anything from Africa. We can't bite off not a dashiki, not a sound, not nothing. We can't bite off nothing. We can't pay nothing. Y'all get to come over here, and now y'all calling yourselves the kings and queens of hip hop and rap, and y'all get to tilt your hat to the side, and y'all get to wear our fashion and talk our slang. And if we say something about it, then it's xenophobia. If we say anything about it, it's us being divisive. If we say anything about it, then we just hate Africa. So now that's why a lot of us
But,
we ain't gonna go with that no
but
more.
my brother, can I just say this one thing though, just quickly before I know you have to head off, I have to head off as well. Just this one thing, bro. I'm looking at it also from a spiritual lens, my bro, yeah? Like, you know, I'm a part of, let's say, the Yoruba tradition or whatever you'll call it. We have many African Americans that come back and reconnect to, let's say, that level of spirituality amongst, you know, the continent, right? And I feel like we embrace them with open arms, and I feel like it's a level of them connecting to a level that's beyond, you know, these labels like countries and stuff. And I feel like, you know, sometimes we have to understand that we're not in a perfect position to do certain things. And I feel like if we was to put it on a scale of, let's say, Europeans, we have to be able to sit down and have these conversations. So I do want to thank you for that, at least having the conversation. And yeah, I just want to say that to say this, man. I think we can work better together. That's all I can say. As people that look the same, obviously we don't look exactly the same, but you know what I mean. Like, you know, we should work together and try.
I'll have a live stream, maybe a little bit later. I'll see about that, but I do have to get on YouTube. But I will say, like I said before, if we're going to have this conversation, okay, about us working together, doing business together, and all of that stuff, because let's be honest, objectively speaking, it's not a bad idea. What it makes sense, don't you think? It makes sense. The problem is that when we get to this idea, when we get to this conversation, y'all don't want to be honest about why that doesn't exist in the first place. Okay? It makes sense. It's made sense for a long time. But the thing is that now we've adapted to the fact that this is probably never going to be a reality. And now it's a lot of us who've adapted to that and said, "Hey, okay, that's fine. I'm just going to do me." And now a lot of and I'm not saying you in particular, but a lot of people from the diaspora are like, "Hold on, let's talk about this Pan-African thing." Okay? After it's been tried and failed and tried and failed and tried and failed mainly by us. So we're going to have to be honest about that. But we'll have a conversation about that sometime soon. So just stick with us for the next live, and you know, you can come up and all that. All right. But with that being said, y'all follow me on YouTube. That's Afro Elite on YouTube. That's Afro Elite on YouTube. All right. I'm going to go live in a few minutes, y'all. A few minutes. Okay. I got to get some stuff straightened out. Going to go live. And then y'all can follow me here, and we can continue these very educational and respectful conversations on TikTok. Appreciate y'all. Also, I have another channel for the culture, and I post the TikTok lives on that other channel. So if you guys want to listen to the playback, you guys can on that channel. All right. Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good one.